Hello and welcome back to the Military Time. Today, we are tracking a rapidly developing situation that has sent shockwaves through military circles across Europe and beyond. A major blast has struck a strategic bridge controlled by Russia, and what began as a single explosion has now spiraled into a wider crisis, pushing Moscow into a scramble for control, answers, and retaliation. In this report, we break down what happened, why it matters, who may be behind it, and what this means for the future of the conflict as tension surges across the region. In the early hours of the morning, residents on both sides of the contested frontier reported a massive fireball rising into the sky. The explosion was powerful enough to be heard miles away, with several eyewitnesses describing the blast as unlike anything they had heard since the early days of the war. Within minutes, images began circulating across social media, showing the bridge engulfed in flames, metal supports warped, and several sections of the roadway partially collapsed. Russia's emergency teams were dispatched immediately, but even they were caught off guard by the intensity of the destruction. What makes this incident extraordinary is the strategic value of the targeted bridge. This is not just a road. It is one of the most important supply arteries connecting Russian military positions, equipment depots, and troop movement routes. Russian forces rely heavily on this infrastructure to move ammunition, reinforcements, and fuel. Its sudden loss creates an immediate and unavoidable logistical nightmare for the Kremlin. And as military analysts have pointed out, even a temporary disruption to this route can undermine operational momentum in several ongoing offensives. As Russian authorities scramble to contain the fire and secure the perimeter, officials released a brief statement calling the explosion an act of terrorism and vowing a strong response. However, the government has yet to present clear evidence of who carried out the attack. Various Russian media outlets rush to point fingers at Ukrainian special forces, though Kiev has neither confirmed nor denied involvement. Historically, Ukraine has often taken a cautious approach in addressing covert operations, sometimes acknowledging them weeks or even months later. Some analysts believe the timing of the explosion may not be coincidental. This comes at a moment when Russian supply lines have already been under severe stress, and a major disruption like this could amplify existing vulnerabilities. Meanwhile, satellite imagery taken shortly after the blast paints a grim picture. Large portions of the bridge's upper structure appear twisted and displaced, suggesting a high-explosive device or a precision strike was used. Experts reviewing the imagery warn that repairs will take weeks, possibly months, depending on the true extent of the damage. And during that time, Russia will be forced to reroute its military logistics, stretching already strained resources even thinner. Within hours, Moscow deployed additional air defense units, military police battalions, and drone surveillance teams to nearby regions. This sudden flood of activity indicates the Kremlin fears a follow-up attack or broader coordinated operation. Russian military channels have reported increased movement of coastal missile systems and counter-drone equipment, hinting that Moscow believes the bridge blast may have been part of a larger strategic plan. International reactions have also been swift. Several European defense ministries issued briefings expressing concern about potential escalation. NATO intelligence units are closely reviewing the situation, though no official alliance statement has been released at the time of this report. Western military experts warn that Moscow's response could be unpredictable, especially if this incident is interpreted as a direct challenge to Russian military authority in the region. There is also growing concern that Russia may retaliate with intensified missile strikes, cyber operations, or targeted assaults on critical infrastructure. On the domestic front, the explosion has sparked a wave of criticism among Russian commentators, including several influential voices who have questioned how such a vital structure could be left vulnerable despite months of warnings about potential attacks. Some pro-military bloggers have openly blamed corruption, poor planning, and negligence within the defense ministry, accusing officials of ignoring earlier calls to fortify the bridge with stronger defensive systems. A few even warned that internal instability could follow if the government fails to respond decisively. At the same time, Russian civilians have expressed growing anxiety. Social networks inside the country are filled with videos of long traffic lines, fuel shortages, and emergency roadblocks in regions that rely on the damaged supply route. Drivers have reported checkpoints being set up almost overnight, with soldiers inspecting vehicles and searching for explosives. The sudden shift from normalcy to near-militarized security has left many residents uneasy and unsure of what may come next. As the dust settles, the focus now shifts to determining what type of weapon or method was used. Some military specialists believe the blast bears the hallmarks of a precision-guided strike, possibly fired from long range. Others suggest it could have been a sabotage operation carried out from within the structure itself, involving timed charges placed by operatives. The pattern of damage, with specific support beams targeted and multiple pressure points collapsing simultaneously, has led analysts to believe the attackers had deep engineering knowledge and detailed information about the bridge's design. For Russia, this incident represents more than just physical damage. It is a symbolic blow, a demonstration that even heavily monitored and fortified infrastructure remains vulnerable. And it places additional pressure on Russian commanders who are already struggling to maintain supply stability across multiple fronts. Every weapon shipment delayed, every fuel truck rerouted, and every reinforcement stalled could have a cascading effect on battlefield operations in the coming days. Meanwhile, inside Ukraine, the explosion has been met with cautious optimism. Public reaction has been measured, but many Ukrainian supporters on social media view the event as a major setback for Russian operations. Defense officials in Kiev have refrained from making official statements, but several military analysts within Ukraine have suggested that this could mark the beginning of a broader strategy aimed at systematically undermining Russian logistics. As global powers continue to analyze the situation, one thing is becoming increasingly clear: this is not a simple isolated event. It signals a shift, a potential turning point in the conflict. With Russia scrambling to rebuild, resecure, and reassert control, its response will likely shape the next phase of the war. Will Moscow escalate? Will it commit more forces to protect infrastructure? Or could internal pressure force a more defensive posture? For now, the world waits. The flames may be dying down on the bridge itself, but the political and military firestorm it triggered is only beginning to grow. We will continue to monitor satellite updates, official briefings, and frontline developments as this crisis unfolds. Stay tuned for continuing coverage, and as always, thank you for watching Military Time.